Here is something I need you to sit with for a moment. A source described as close to Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, has now publicly declared that her viral baby mama dance video on Instagram was never meant to be taken as real. That clip she posted, the one she personally referenced on a talk show as evidence of how authentic and relatable she is, was apparently just a parody, a spoof, a joke the entire internet supposedly misunderstood. Pause. Because I know what you are thinking. You are thinking the same thing I thought when I read this over my morning coffee on a perfectly good Sunday. You are thinking, wait, she literally went on camera and said, "Did you see my baby mama dance?" And her supporters defended it as genuine for months. And now we are supposed to believe it was satirical the whole time? Stay with me. Because this is not just about one video. What I am going to walk you through today is a pattern so deliberate, so consistent in how Meghan Markle and Prince Harry manage their public image that I have given it a name. I call it the strategic ambiguity playbook. Imply heavily, never state outright. Let the implication do its work. Wait for the consequences. Then deny you ever meant what every single person clearly understood you to mean. By the end of this, you will see this playbook applied across at least 3 separate incidents spanning several years. You will understand why this particular walkback may not have been a choice at all, but something closer to a legal necessity forced by a hospital. And you will know exactly what I believe is coming next for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and by extension, for the British royal family itself. Let us begin with the video itself, because the details matter far more than most people realize, and there are layers here that almost nobody in the mainstream press has bothered to unpack. On her Instagram account, Meghan Markle posted a video showing herself performing what is widely known as a baby mama dance. She was visibly pregnant in the clip. She appeared to be in a hospital or clinical setting. Prince Harry was visible alongside her, and the caption she attached to the post said something to this effect: 4 years ago today, this also happened. Both of our children were a week past their due dates. So when spicy food, all that walking, and acupuncture did not work, there was only one thing left to do. I need you to read that caption again with fresh eyes. 4 years ago today, this also happened. She posted it on what would have been the anniversary of Princess Lilibet's arrival, their daughter, the child named after Queen Elizabeth. The language directly and unmistakably ties the video to the day Lilibet was born or the moments immediately surrounding that event. There is zero ambiguity in that caption. She is telling you, her audience, that this video captures a real moment from the day her daughter came into the world. Or at the very least, she is constructing that impression with almost surgical precision, placing every word exactly where it needs to land so you connect the dots in precisely the way every single person who read it actually connected them. And connect them people did. Her supporters, the group sometimes called the Sussex Squad online, celebrated the video as a triumphant act of vulnerability. Content creators who align with her brand made their own videos praising the Duchess for her authenticity, her relatability, her willingness to share such an intimate moment with the world while under constant media scrutiny. They called critics haters. They said we were jealous, delusional, manufacturing problems where none existed. They built an entire fortress of defense around the authenticity of that clip. Then she went further. She appeared on a well-known talk show, seated across from a prominent businesswoman, and during that conversation, she referenced the video directly. Her words were roughly, "You have to be authentic. Did you see my baby mama dance?" And she laughed, warmly, proudly. She was using that video as a credential, proof positive that she was not the stiff, distant royal the British tabloids had painted her as, but a real woman, a real mother, sharing real moments with real people who cared enough to watch. So that is the full context, and I want you to hold it in both hands before we go any further. The video existed on Instagram. The caption framed it as real with language pegged to a specific date. She verbally reinforced that framing on camera. Her supporters constructed a defensive wall around its authenticity and attacked anyone who questioned it. This is not me constructing a narrative out of thin air. This is what happened, in her own words, on her own platform, in her own voice, captured on camera for all of us to see. And now, here is the part most people do not know, or at least most people did not until this story broke. And this is where my Sunday morning got very interesting very fast. According to a source described as close to the Duchess who spoke to a well-known magazine, the video showing Meghan jokingly performing a baby mama dance was never intended to be interpreted as an authentic, behind-the-scenes glimpse into the birth of Princess Lilibet. Instead, the source described it as an obvious spoof created to entertain followers and poke fun at a growing trend of viral social media pregnancy videos. The source reportedly said, and I am paraphrasing carefully here, that it was disappointing that online critics immediately assumed it was meant to be real, and that the entire point of the video was humor. Now, I want you to notice something about the timing of this trend defense. By the time Meghan posted that video, the social media pregnancy dance trend had already peaked and was declining. She was not riding a wave. She was resurrecting a trend that had largely faded and attaching it to a date with unmistakable personal significance. That is not how parody works. Parody riffs on something the audience is actively consuming. This was a deliberate callback staged to look spontaneous. But the source was not finished. The insider went on to argue that critics had overlooked what they called one essential reality. The Duchess is one of the most senior members of the royal family, and there are strict expectations surrounding her public role. According to this source, it would be considered vulgar for someone in her position to publicly release intimate footage from one of the most private moments of her life. Did you catch everything buried in those sentences? Let me pull it apart for you because there are 3 separate revelations hiding inside language that was clearly designed to slide past without scrutiny. First, she, or more precisely her representative, is now confirming that the video was not real, it was a parody. After months of her supporters insisting it was genuine, after she herself wielded it as a badge of authenticity on camera, the official position from her camp is now, just kidding. It was satire. You all misunderstood, every last one of you. Second, the source explicitly calls Meghan one of the most senior members of the royal family. Not a former member, not an estranged member, not someone who stepped back from duties. A senior member of the royal family. Full stop, no qualifier. That phrasing does not happen by accident when you are speaking through a curated source to a magazine. That is positioning, and I am going to come back to what I believe it signals because it connects to something much bigger happening behind the scenes. Third, the source says that a woman in her position would never share something so intimate because it would be vulgar. The same woman who posted the video, who captioned it with her own fingers, who promoted it on a talk show with her own voice, that woman's own representative is now calling the very concept of that video vulgar, while the video itself remains live on her Instagram account right now, as you listen to this, still posted, still captioned, still implying exactly what she now says it never meant. Let that contradiction sit in the room with you for a moment, because it is enormous. But before we get to the pattern, I need to tell you what I believe actually caused this walkback, because it is not what the source wants you to think. And this is the part of the story that almost nobody in the media has been willing to touch. When that video first appeared, I looked at it closely. Something did not add up. In the clip, neither Meghan nor Prince Harry appeared to be wearing masks. If this video was genuinely filmed on or around June 4th, 2021, which is the date her caption implies, then it was filmed during some of the most severe pandemic health protocols that hospitals in the United States had ever enforced. I am talking about a period when mothers were giving birth completely alone because their partners were banned from the delivery room, when families could not visit dying relatives, when every single person inside a medical facility was required to wear a mask at all times, no exceptions, full stop, no matter who you were. So I did something that apparently nobody in the mainstream media considered worth doing. I contacted the hospital, and the hospital called me back. They confirmed that the video as presented could not have been filmed under their protocols during that period. They had strict rules governing infection control. No exceptions. Not for a duchess, not for a duke, not for anyone with any title from any country on earth. That single detail, that one phone call, changes everything about what comes next. Because I believe the walk back we are now witnessing is not about public relations strategy. It is not about Meghan Markle discovering overnight that she is too royal and too dignified to share intimate moments with the public. I believe this walk back was forced. And I believe it was forced because the hospital made it clear, possibly through legal channels, that she could not continue to imply. This video was filmed in their facility during a period when they were enforcing life and death infection protocols that affected the most vulnerable moments of their patients' lives. Think about it from the hospital side for 30 seconds. Patients who were there during that period, patients who gave birth without their partners beside them, patients who watched people they loved die through glass windows because no visitors were permitted. Those patients saw this video. They saw a woman dancing without a mask in what appeared to be one of their rooms, on what appeared to be a day when the hospital was supposedly enforcing rules that inflicted genuine suffering on real families going through the worst moments of their lives. The hospital received complaints, real complaints from real former patients who wanted to know why the rules apparently applied to everyone on earth except the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. That is the pressure I believe is behind this statement. Not some sudden epiphany about royal decorum, not a principled stand about the distinction between public image and private life. A hospital needed her to clarify publicly that the video was not filmed there under those conditions. And so the anonymous source close to the Duchess materialized right on schedule with a tidy explanation and carefully chosen language about parody and satire and the dignity of a senior royal. Now, here is where I need you to zoom out with me, because what I am about to describe is not a conspiracy theory. It is a documented communications technique, and once you see it, you will never be able to unsee it. I call it the strategic ambiguity playbook, and here is how it works in 3 steps. Step 1, make a statement or release content that carries a powerful implication without stating that implication explicitly. Step 2, let the audience, the media, your supporters, and your critics all absorb the implication and react to it as though it were a direct claim, because that is exactly what you designed it to do. Step 3, when the implication generates heat you did not anticipate or consequences you did not want, retreat to the literal text of what was actually said and point out that you never technically stated what everyone understood you to mean. It is elegant, it is infuriating, and it has been used in politics and corporate communications for decades. Politicians deploy it through what scholars call dog whistle messaging. Corporations use it when they issue statements that sound like apologies but contain no actual admission of fault. The brilliance of the technique, and I use that word with genuine reluctance, is that it operates in 2 directions simultaneously. The implication reaches the audience you want to influence. The deniability protects you from the audience you want to avoid. What Meghan Markle has done, in my analysis, is transplant this corporate and political playbook into the arena of personal branding and celebrity image management with a consistency that most commentators are either unwilling to name or unable to recognize. The baby mama dance video is just the latest deployment. She implied the video was real through her caption, her timing, and her own spoken words on camera. The audience received it as real. Now that reality has become inconvenient, possibly legally inconvenient because of the hospital situation, the anonymous source emerges to announce it was always a joke and we are the fools who misunderstood. But this is not the first time. And here is where the pattern locks into place. Take yourself back to the Oprah Winfrey interview, 2021. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex sat down for what became one of the most watched television events of the decade, broadcast to tens of millions of viewers across multiple continents. During that interview, Meghan told Oprah that before their son Archie Harrison was born, there were conversations within the royal family about what color his skin might be and concerns about how dark he might be. The implication was thermonuclear. The entire world heard it as an accusation of racism directed at the British royal family, at Buckingham Palace, at the institutions surrounding King Charles. That interpretation dominated global headlines for weeks. It strained diplomatic relationships. It influenced public opinion about the monarchy on 3 continents. It became one of the defining narratives of the modern British crown. And then, roughly 2 years later, Prince Harry walked it back. He said that Meghan never actually used the word racist. She never called any specific member of the royal family racist. She simply reported a conversation that had taken place, and the public drew its own conclusions. Now, technically, that is accurate. The word was not spoken. But if someone tells you on global television, sitting across from Oprah Winfrey, that people in the royal family expressed concern about how dark your mixed-race child would be, what exactly do you expect 7 billion people to conclude? The implication was the message. The technical accuracy of what was literally said was the escape hatch. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. The playbook executed flawlessly. And now the baby mama dance follows the identical structure. Imply the video is real through every available channel. Let supporters defend its authenticity. Then, when reality catches up, announce through a source that it was always satire and blame the audience for being too dense to recognize the joke. But I am not done, because while this video controversy was playing out in public, something remarkable was unfolding behind the scenes in royal media circles. And this piece of the puzzle changes how you should think about every supposedly candid moment the Sussexes have ever presented to the world. A well-known journalist who covered Prince Harry closely for years has recently come forward with extraordinary claims in a new book. This journalist says she was tipped off by one of the Sussex team's own advisors about a private meeting and given enough advance notice to position a photographer at the location before Harry and Meghan arrived. The meeting in question took place at the Royal Overseas League, a private members club near Clarence House in central London. And I need you to understand what the Royal Overseas League actually is, because this detail is the hinge on which the entire story turns. This is an elite private institution. King Charles himself is its patron. You do not wander in off the street and order a sandwich. You attend by invitation or through an exclusive membership, and the membership process is not casual. This is a club where diplomats and senior officials gather behind closed doors. The journalist claims she received a call from a Sussex advisor, was told the date, the time, and the location of the meeting, and arranged for a photographer to be in position to capture the moment. What that tells you, if true, is that the Sussexes or their team were actively engineering which moments appeared candid to the press, while those moments were anything but candid. The supposedly spontaneous photograph that ran in the papers was, according to this journalist's own published account, a staged media event dressed in the costume of an accidental sighting. And here is the piece that makes the staging claim even harder to dismiss. I have been to that location. I know the physical layout. There is a perimeter wall around the relevant area that stands roughly 10 to 12 feet high. The area where the photos were supposedly taken is not visible from any public vantage point. There is no sidewalk angle, no overlooking balcony accessible to the public, no open sightline that would allow a photographer with even the longest lens to capture those images without being inside the grounds or being placed in a very specific position by someone who knew the layout. If those photos exist, and they do, someone put that photographer there deliberately. That is not speculation. That is geometry and architecture. What this revelation exposes is a media management operation that is far more calculated than the couple has ever publicly acknowledged. While Harry and Meghan were publicly accusing the British press of harassment, invasion of privacy, and relentless cruelty, they were, according to this first-person account from a journalist who was directly involved, simultaneously feeding stories to reporters and staging photo opportunities through their own advisors. That is not the behavior of two people who want to be left alone. That is the behavior of two people who want to control which version of them the world sees and when the world sees it. Here is why that matters for the baby mama dance story specifically. If they have a documented history of staging moments to look spontaneous and then claiming those moments represent authentic reality, then the credibility of every supposedly candid piece of content they release is fundamentally compromised. The baby mama dance was supposed to be a spontaneous, relatable, real moment. Now we know it was not. And now we know that staging and then denying is not a one-time event, but a repeating pattern with a documented history. Now, I want to bring you to something that happened very recently on live television, because this is where all of these threads come together and the stakes jump from tabloid gossip to genuine constitutional significance. On one of the most prominent and widely watched television platforms in the English-speaking world, a commentator made a statement on air that sent shockwaves through every royal watching circle on the planet. The statement was blunt. King Charles has never met the Sussex children. Let me say that again, because I need it to fully register. According to a statement made on a major broadcast platform, the King of England, the head of the British monarchy, has never personally met his own grandchildren, Archie Harrison and Princess Lilibet, the son and daughter of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Now watch what happened in the hours and days after that statement aired. Reports surfaced almost immediately that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were suddenly, urgently planning a trip to the United Kingdom to meet with King Charles, specifically and explicitly to facilitate a meeting between the king and the two children. Ask yourself this. If King Charles had already met these children, if there were warm family photographs and shared holiday memories and confirmed previous visits, why would a single comment on a television show prompt what looks for all the world like an emergency scramble to arrange a meeting that should have happened years ago? The reaction itself tells you more than the original statement ever could. It tells you that whoever is managing the Sussex communications infrastructure recognized that comment as a genuine crisis, not a nuisance. Not a rumor to be ignored, a crisis requiring immediate, visible action. And it tells you that the absence of any evidence contradicting the claim, any photograph, any official statement, any independently verified visit, was itself the problem they needed to address before it calcified into accepted fact. I want you to think about this from the perspective of an ordinary British citizen who follows the royal family with reasonable interest. Prince William and Catherine, the Prince and Princess of Wales, have 3 children: Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. Those children are photographed regularly. They appear at public events. They are seen with their grandparents and extended family in contexts that are clearly genuine and independently verifiable. The public has a visible, documented, ongoing relationship between those children and the broader institution of the monarchy. With Archie and Lilibet, the situation could not be more different. The public appearances have been so infrequent, so carefully controlled, and so entirely managed by the Sussex side that the contrast itself has become one of the most discussed undercurrents in royal commentary. And I want to be very precise about what I am saying here. I am not telling you what to conclude. I am telling you what is publicly observable, what is documented, and what is not. The absence of independent verification for basic facts that would be completely routine for any other children in their position within the line of succession is itself a data point that deserves serious examination rather than reflexive. Dismissal. A separate royal commentator independently confirmed that Buckingham Palace had no record of official or personal meetings being scheduled for the late Queen Elizabeth to meet with Harry, Meghan, and the 2 children during the period Meghan claimed such a visit took place. Meghan had publicly stated that Lilibet spent her first birthday at a location in the United Kingdom and that both King Charles and the late Queen had met the little girl and Archie. She even suggested that Queen Elizabeth had driven to Frogmore Cottage to see them personally. Given that by 2022, the Queen was dealing with serious mobility challenges so significant that she sometimes struggled to reach the balcony at Buckingham Palace for major ceremonial occasions, the practical logistics of that particular claim have always raised quiet but persistent questions among people who actually understand how the Queen's schedule and physical capabilities were managed during her final year. And there is one more thread I need to pull for you here. because it involves digital evidence that is technically accessible to anyone with an internet connection and the knowledge to look for it, yet somehow escaped mainstream press attention entirely. When the official photographs from Archie Harrison's christening were released to the public, they were distributed in digital format. That matters because every digital photograph contains embedded metadata, invisible information baked into the file itself that records details about when the image was created, when it was modified, and other technical parameters. That metadata is not hidden in any meaningful sense. Anyone who receives the digital file can access it with a right click. And when people did look at the metadata for the christening photographs, what they found was deeply strange. The recorded creation date of the image did not align with the official date of the baptism ceremony. The timestamp indicated the photograph had been taken on a date prior to the event it was supposed to document, and the modification date showed the image had been altered before the ceremony was even announced to the public. Now, I want to be measured about this because metadata can be unreliable. Cameras with incorrect date settings, file transfers that alter timestamps, editing software that overwrites original data, all of these are legitimate explanations. But the gap between the metadata dates and the official timeline was specific enough and strange enough that it warranted at minimum a question from the press. And that question was never publicly asked by any mainstream outlet I am aware of, despite the fact that every journalist who received that digital file had the same access to the same metadata that everyone else did. Draw your own conclusions about what that silence means. I have drawn mine. Now, I promised you I would come back to the language in the walkback statement, and this is where I believe the biggest story of all is hiding in plain sight. Because the words a source uses when they know the world is listening are never random. Look at the phrasing one more time. The source calls Meghan one of the most senior members of the royal family. Not former, not estranged, not someone who stepped back. A current, active, senior member of the royal family with expectations and a public role, Prince Harry himself stated publicly that he still considers himself a working royal. The Duchess's representative is deploying the exact same institutional language without any qualifier about departure or distance. And King Charles, rather than correcting this framing, has reportedly been directing people to the official Sussex website. The Sussex profiles remain on the official royal family website. The titles remain. The positions in the line of succession remain. And the language coming from the Sussex camp has shifted noticeably over the past year. It used to be former senior royals. Then it became members of the royal family. Now, if this latest source statement is taken at face value, it is one of the most senior members, present tense, active voice, no asterisk. I believe Meghan Markle is positioning for a return to the United Kingdom in some operational capacity within the royal family. I believe the baby mama dance walk back, with its heavy emphasis on royal decorum, the dignity of her position, the boundaries appropriate for someone of her status, is not simply damage control over one embarrassing video. It is a signal. She is telling the establishment, I understand the rules now. I respect the boundaries. I know where the lines are. I am ready to play the part the way you need it played. And that interpretation is reinforced by everything else we are seeing move simultaneously. The sudden willingness to arrange meetings with King Charles, the shift in language from confrontational to conciliatory. The emphasis in the source statement on being mindful of the expectations surrounding her public role. These are not the actions and words of someone who has walked away from the institution for good. These are the actions and words of someone who is walking back toward it, carefully, one calculated step at a time. The question is whether the British public will accept that return, and whether the institution has the structural integrity left to resist it if the public does not. Here is why this matters beyond celebrity gossip and tabloid theater, and I want to be direct about this because I think most commentary on the Sussexes misses the actual weight of what is at stake. Archie Harrison and Princess Lilibet are in the line of succession to the British throne. They currently sit at approximately the 5th and 6th positions, though the exact numbering depends on how certain technicalities are counted. That is not gossip, that is constitutional architecture. The line of succession is the mechanism by which one of the oldest continuous democracies in the world determines its head of state. It is codified in law. It carries real legal force. And it requires, by both tradition and institutional logic, that the individuals within it be subject to a baseline level of public verification that simply does not currently exist for the Sussex children. Every other child in a comparable position within the line of succession has been seen publicly in verifiable, independently documented contexts. There are photographs taken by credentialed press at official events. There are confirmed meetings with heads of state and senior family members witnessed by palace staff and documented in court records. There is, in short, a continuous chain of independent evidence connecting those children to the institution they will one day potentially lead. For the Sussex children, that chain does not currently exist in any independently verifiable form. What exists instead is a series of claims made by their parents, photographs released exclusively through Sussex-controlled channels, and a now documented pattern of those same parents staging content to appear authentic and then walking it back when the staging is exposed. I want to be careful here because these are children and they deserve privacy and protection regardless of any questions about their parents' behavior. But the line of succession is not a private family matter. It is a public constitutional mechanism, and the questions surrounding the verifiability of basic facts about children who sit in that line are legitimate institutional questions, not tabloid cruelty. The late Queen Elizabeth, in my assessment, understood the danger this dynamic posed. Before her passing, she made it clear to Harry and Meghan that while they would always remain family, they would not be working royals. She drew a line, and whether you admired her or disagreed with her on any number of issues across her 70-year reign, that line represented something important. It was the institution recognizing that something was not functioning correctly and attempting to contain the potential damage before it spread. But Queen Elizabeth died, and with King Charles at the helm, the approach has shifted. The containment strategy that the Queen maintained appears to have softened into something more accommodating, more conciliatory, more willing to let ambiguity persist rather than force clarity. And the consequences of that accommodation are playing out right now, in real time, in carefully worded source statements and sudden emergency meetings and a pattern of strategic ambiguity that shows absolutely no signs of slowing down. So let me pay off every promise I made to you at the start. The baby mama dance video was presented as real. It was captioned as real. It was defended as real by Meghan herself on camera and by her supporters across every platform on the internet. And now it has been officially walked back as parody. I believe the walkback was forced not by a sudden embrace of royal propriety, but by institutional pressure from a hospital whose patients suffered through the strictest pandemic protocols imaginable. While this video implied those protocols did not apply to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. That is why the walkback happened now. Not dignity, not decorum, liability. The strategic ambiguity playbook is the pattern that connects the video, the Oprah Winfrey interview, the staged photographs at the Royal Overseas League, and the shifting language about royal status. Imply powerfully, let the implication shape public perception, then deny precisely what was never precisely stated, and blame the audience for drawing exactly the conclusion you engineered them to draw. It is a technique borrowed from political and corporate crisis management, and it has been applied to personal branding by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex with a consistency that goes beyond coincidence into the territory of deliberate strategy. The question of what happens next is, in my view, not a mystery. I believe Meghan Markle is positioning for some form of return to the royal family. The language, the behavior, the sudden eagerness to arrange meetings with King Charles, the emphasis on being a senior member who understands her public role, it all points in one direction. Whether the institution lets her back in, and whether the British public is willing to accept that after everything that has happened, is the question I will be watching most closely in the weeks and months ahead. And one final thing before I leave you with all of this. The baby mama dance video is still on her Instagram account right now, today. As you listen to these words, the clip that her own representative has officially described as a parody, the footage she implied was real on a specific date tied to the birth of her daughter, The video that caused a hospital to receive complaints from former patients who endured the worst moments of their lives alone because of the very protocols this clip appeared to violate, that video is still live. Still posted, still captioned with the same words that connect it to the day Princess Lilibet was born. If it was always a joke, if it was always satire, if it was never meant to be taken as real, then why is it still there? Why has she not taken it down? Why does the caption still read exactly the way it read the day she posted it? That is the question, and I suspect if you have made it this far with me, you already know the answer.